One section about L'Hopital's rule, and we will do exercise 17 here. What is the limit as x approaches 0 from the positive side of e to the x minus 1 plus x over x cubed? So, every time you have a limit, you should first think about plugging in the value, because if it's a continuous function, then there's no problem at all with the limit. So here, if we plug in x equals 0, we get 1 minus 1, so 0 over 0. And that's what we call an indeterminate form. You have to at least write 0 over 0 if you move to the next step in an AP Calculus exam in an FRQ. So when we have an indeterminate form, that's when we can apply L'Hopital's rule. And L'Hopital's rule says that if the limit of a function f of x over g of x, if we have that, then it's equal to the limit of f prime of x over g prime of x, provided it's an indeterminate form. So here we have 0 over 0, so we can just take the derivative of the top, which is e to the x. This is minus 1 minus x, so the derivative is e to the x minus 1 over 3x squared. Not to be confused with the quotient rule, of course. And now we're going to plug in 0 again, and we get 1 minus 1, so it's 0 divided by 0. So once again, 0 over 0, indeterminate form, or L'Hopital, just to say what's going to happen. So we just do the same process again. This is equal to the limit as x approaches 0 from the positive side of the derivative of the numerator, which is e to the x, divided by the derivative of the denominator, which is 6x, and I'm going to try again. Here, if I plug stuff in, I get 1 over 0. 1 over 0 is not an indeterminate form, it approaches infinity. So in AP Calc, you can just write D and E. And let's talk about that, the fact that exponential are more powerful than polynomials when we have limits, but here it's not a question of the exponential being more powerful because it's 1 over 0, and that's just infinity. Now, one thing we may want to be careful of is we have a 0 approached from the positive side. How does this affect this exercise? It means that the denominator is actually a positive number. So you have a positive number divided by a positive number, so you get the function, if you graph it, you will see it goes to positive infinity from the right side. Whereas if this limit was x approaches 0 from the negative side, it would be positive divided by negative, and the function would approach negative infinity. So at x equals 0, there's a vertical asymptote, and the graph looks somewhat like that. In AP Calculus, it doesn't matter, you just state that the limit does not exist. But if you study further calculus, or if you study calculus again in college, they may want you to distinguish between positive infinity and negative infinity.